Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Mark Yegge, who is the Wealth Architect. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Great to be here.
Hey, you're welcome. And I'm excited to hear about what architecting wealth looks like, because I'm all about blueprints and checklists and tell me the path and guide me. So Wealth Architect sounds really awesome. Before we dive into that, give us a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey to this point in your career.
I love it. Well, I don't want to take too much time, but essentially I've spent my entire life since I was about 12 years old investing in the stock market. And then I'm a serial entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a builder and had businesses. And then his dad was an entrepreneur, and it goes way back. So I love business, but I really have a passion for helping people in the stock market. And that's something that I've been doing for, I hate to even say it. It's like 45 years now. But I'll say it, and I guess that could be a good thing. And so that's essentially what I do. I'm a financial educator, but a wealth architect really is kind of my own thing. It's basically we build your finances from the ground up, and we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs not just play offense and make money, what they call alpha in my hedge fund business, but we also help you protect your wealth, because protecting your wealth is a critical component. A lot of people can make it, especially in this day of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and there's a lot of fast millionaires, but because we don't have financial education in our system, they don't know how to hold on to it. We've all heard the stories about the athletes that have lost their money because their buddy, they went to high school with or whatever, was managing their money, or they put things in bad investments. We don't know enough about financial education in this country, or maybe even throughout the world, to really be smart about it. Yet we know a lot about Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And we know the Pythagorean theorem, two things that I don't use every day, but I sure use money.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, creating safe, reliable income, check, wonderful. But then, like you said, it's like what you just described, like keeping it, or keeping as much as possible, because there's always things that are going to, let the water leak out of the proverbial bucket, like taxes. Well, there's some things you can mitigate that. But talk a little bit about what you do to help create the income, which is the cash flow. And then what are some of the things you advise your clients on to help you keep as much as possible?
Yeah. So oftentimes, especially in finance, since we don't have that baseline education, we don't know what we don't know. So what we know is the things that we're told. We watch Kramer on CNBC, or we might even get educated and read Kiplinger's or Money Magazine, or maybe even watch or listen to podcasts or watch some YouTube videos. But there's so much that we don't know about money. It's simple if you know about it, but if you don't know about it, it seems like a gigantic world. And so there are lots of ways to create income and play defense at the same time. Most people think, well, the best way to create income is by real estate. And that's certainly a good way, but it's not for everyone. It's not for me. I had my period of time where I, had to go plunge a toilet at 2:00 in the morning and those kinds of things. So it's certainly not passive income in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
But in the stock market, you can actually make passive income as well. And it's not just by buying dividend stocks, which pay you 2%, 3%, 4%, something minimal, which doesn't even keep up with inflation anymore. You can actually, I call it's kind of a real estate parlance, but I call it renting stocks. You can own a stock and then you can sell to some gambler out there who's an option buyer. You can sell to that option buyer the right to buy your stock before a predetermined time at a predetermined price. And you can use that to create income. Now, I can give you a full analogy if you want to know a little bit more about that. But essentially, we rent our stocks out to the people that are willing to take a lot of risk. And by doing that, we flip the equation and we create safe, reliable income, and we create income that helps us play some defense.
That's curious, and it kind of reminds me of the concept of like a bird dog fee. I want to be a real estate investor, but I don't want to do all the hard work and the flipping. But I found this deal, and I've got the contract in my name. I'll assign it to you, so you can go out and do whatever you want to do. So, is that kind of similar to what you just described there?
Yeah, it's around it. Let me give you an analogy. So most people understand real estate because it's, we all live in real estate, right? But let's say you look out your window and you see that there's a lot for sale, and it's let's just call it a city block, right? and it's for sale by your neighbor. His name is Jim, and Jim's got a sign for sale that says for sale $100,000. And this guy Bob comes along, but Bob doesn't have $100,000. Bob does have information that he thinks is going to be critical. He thinks that next door to Jim's lot, there's going to be a big hotel put up. And so that means that lot will probably go to $1 million worth of value instead of the $100,000 that Jim is asking. And so, but Bob doesn't have the $100,000 to give to the seller. So he just goes to the seller and says, hey, seller, Jim, would you be willing to not sell your property for 6 months? I'll give you $10,000 to do that. But that gives me the right anytime in the next 6 months to buy your property for $100,000.
Okay.
So Jim, who's got the property for sale, goes, wait a minute, you're going to give me $10,000. That's mine. I get to keep it. And you're going to give me the same price that I'm asking for my property right now, anytime in the next 6 months? Bob says, yeah, that's the deal. They shake hands. They got a deal. So Jim collects the $10,000 right there. Now, two things can happen. Bob could be right. And in Bob's case, if he's right, that property goes from $100,000, he's only got $10,000 invested, to $1 million, right? Big gamble, big risk, but big reward. But we all know that information is imperfect. And a lot of times those deals don't happen. It was just a rumor. And if it doesn't happen, then Bob, the buyer, loses all of his $10,000, but Jim got to keep it.
Yep.
So he lowered his basis in his property from $100,000 to $90,000 and collected that $10,000 in income to do it. So Bob was the big gambler. Bob had everything to lose. Jim could just put his property back on the market after 6 months, and he's got an extra $10,000 in his pocket.
Now, he also is running a slight risk that what if the market did go down and now he's selling it for less than what he thought, but hopefully it didn't go down more than the 10,000 that he got in his pocket.
Exactly right. Yeah. He got to play a little defense and lowered his price by 10%, his basis. And so we can do that in the stock market. So if you own some Apple stock, or if you own some Amazon, or you want to buy some Amazon, and we show people how to do this with our system. And now you're just finding a bunch of Bobs out there, a bunch of people that are willing to take that risk. And 80%, Mike, 80% of all options buyers lose their money.
Yeah.
In other words, options expire worthless most of the time. But if you can flip that around, there's another person in the transaction. That's the seller. That means he's got a better than average chance, more toward 80% chance of making money. He gets to keep the $10,000 no matter what happens, right? The only risk he has is, like you said, if it goes below the $90,000 that he has invested in the property at this point.
So then in that example, like I know the word options, so this is a very uneducated question, but in that example, I know that you can buy options on a certain stock and hope it goes up, okay, good, or down. But you're saying that maybe I would buy the actual stock and then I would offer an option on that stock to someone else.
That's exactly right.
Interesting.
That's not very uneducated.
So to me, that sounds like a really fresh, interesting approach, because most of the time people might take a course on trading options and it's like, I'm the one buying the option. Did it turn out good or not? But in reality, you're going, let's find some stocks that might be a great investment long term. And then we'll go find some other people that go, oh, I want to buy an option on it going up or down. And then you're the one holding that asset, that stock.
That's exactly it. That's exactly
very interesting.
Now, we don't make the big killing that Bob in this case would have made on our stocks. Like one of our big stocks right now, the people in my mastermind group that we all follow this program, is Tesla. Now, I know we all know what Tesla is, and it's a volatile and great fun stock, but they're really building quite a company there. And if you like Tesla and you think it's going to stay the same or go up a little bit higher or move around, Tesla is a really great stock to do what this strategy is. It's basically a covered call strategy. Now, if you want, you can go out to YouTube and you can pull up covered calls and you can watch a bunch of free videos on it. The problem with that is, free information is probably worth exactly that. And I have free videos out there too. But there needs to be a system around it, because the stock market is a really emotional thing. Money is emotion. And so when you tie money with emotion, you start to make, I would say, when emotions go up in the stock market, intelligence goes down and vice versa. So the more emotional decisions you make, they're usually the wrong ones in the market, right? You sell at the time when it's bottoming, and that's the perfect time to be buying, and those kinds of things. And so you need a system with rules to take the emotion out of everything. And, we like to target 2 to 4% a month. And it's not, we're not going to tell you that you're going to triple your money in a year like the options buyers are going to do. But we're going to show you how you can just, make 2 to 4% a month. If 2 to 4% a month is enough for you, now we have ways to increase that. But if 2 to 4% is enough for you, then it's a really great way to play defense and a little bit of offense at the same time.
And probably with a nice palatable level of mitigated risk.
Well, yes. You can't get something for nothing. So we give up the big upside. Like I was going to start to say in Tesla, Tesla's trading around $1,000 a share. And a lot of people are buying these options. They're paying a lot of money. They're paying like $30 for a weekly option, Mike, right now, $30. So that means that the stock has to go from 1,000 to 1,030 for them just to break even. And it expires in a week, not 6 months, like we talked about it with the real estate example. They've only got a week. If it goes down the other way, they lose their whole $30. But we get to keep it.
Yeah.
We keep it. And so if we can keep $30 a week or a month or whatever, that does mitigate the risk quite a bit, like you said.
So you let the other people make emotional decisions like, "Ooh, look at this trending stock like Tesla. I'm going to buy this option on it." And you're just sitting there going, "Cool, here. I'm not the one making the emotional decision. You are."
That's right. That's exactly it. And I tell people that you can do this system with about 20 minutes a week or maybe an hour a month, depending on how you set it up, so that it is unemotional. You can just kind of log on Friday. Today's a day before a holiday. So, this is the day that options expire. So some of our weekly participants, they get on and they just kind of move their options to next week. They just let it flow or they move it to next month. And so it's, the idea is to take that emotion out of investing so that it becomes an automatic thing. You sound like a checkbox kind of guy. And so, having checkbox is a really great way to handle your money, and having a system around how to build those checkboxes is really important. I like to tell people our cornerstones of our system is you buy the right stock in the right market at the right spot on the chart, because there's a high probability spot on the chart that you're doing the right thing. And then we do what's called collecting the rent or squeezing the juice, right? That's how we do it.
Because you still got to have your nice market research to pick that good stock that you then, because otherwise you're going to put out the shingle, so to speak, for, hey, buy this option on XYZ stock, and no one's going to take it. So you still have to know how to make those decisions.
Absolutely right.
Yep.
We'll show you what stocks fit this, because certainly, like you said, not every stock fits this bill, right? And this is certainly not for everybody, by the way. This is a great system. It's the best system I've ever seen, and I've had my own Wall Street firm, and I've been on Wall Street for a long time and in the investment business. I've never seen a system like this that makes it, easy and with a low amount of risk to create that income. But you do have to start with the right stock. And then we also show you a component of timing that market, because 70% of a stock's performance comes from the direction of the market. So you want to be doing what the market's doing. If the market's tanking, you don't want to be buying these, some stocks, right? You want to buy the right stock, and it's got to be at the right time in the right market.
In marketing, it reminds me of the concept. Have you ever heard of news jacking?
News jacking. Yes, I've heard of it.
David Meerman's. It's really interesting. You just Google the phrase. You wrote a book, but in reality, all it is you look at trending topics, whatever the trending topic might be, and then you take your company, whatever your product or service is, and you write up a press release or a social media post or whatever the case is, talking about your company as in some even remote way that it relates to that trending topic, just to kind of get in the conversation. And it might be so remote that it's like there's no connection there, but you got some eyeballs to it because you tagged it on to that trending topic. So same kind of a concept of what you're talking about there. So obviously you're not going to say to clients, take your entire nest egg, your entire retirement wealth fortune, and put it into this concept. You're going to say this can be a piece of your whole investment portfolio. You're going to take some of it and do these kind of strategies. You need to have some in other things. But this becomes something when you hear the phrase stock market or investing your money, it's a different twist on it, where you're not only waiting for Tesla stock to go up and you made your return. So it's an interesting thing to think about. How does cryptocurrency factor into that? Is there a way to do this same concept you're talking about using cryptocurrency, or is that a whole new topic?
It's great that you brought that up. It's funny you should ask, because I have a cryptocurrency hedge fund, and I wanted to try this same program out. And there is a way to do derivatives on Bitcoin, and the problem is the market is just not fertile and liquid enough yet where you can get good executions on derivatives. They're fine. I ended up making about 3% in 2 weeks, but it really was clunky compared to the ease at which we could do it in the stock market. But I do believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, they have a place in your portfolio. I call them tech assets, right? I think everybody should have some tech assets. Imagine if I told you that Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon were tech assets 20 years ago. And if you just bought those and hung on to them, your tech asset would increase. Well, the whole world is moving toward technology, and Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space is not immune from that. And I think we're right at the beginning of the revolution of what's going on with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There's so many uses, and there's thousands and thousands of tokens and coins out there. They're not going to all succeed, but I think Bitcoin, being the only one that has a scarcity component, has a big chance of succeeding, because there is only going to be 21 million Bitcoin made. And when you compare it to something like the euro, the yen, or the US dollar, there is no cap on the amount that we print of those, right? So there's not a scarcity component. That's why we have such poor inflation numbers right now. But in Bitcoin's case, now, while Bitcoin isn't responding to the inflation, I believe we're so in the beginning of that it will just be a matter of time before it starts to divert from the direction of some of the other assets.
So people don't need to, like, for instance, I don't know that I could give you a logical explanation of what cryptocurrency / Bitcoin. I get that it's a popular thing, but maybe you don't need to understand the nuances of that to know it is a technology sector that is got strong upside growth, that maybe you need to buy some of that position in your portfolio and see where the growth comes. So I think
I like the way you said that. I think that's really good. It's a technology play, and that's certainly one way to look at it. I don't know if you've heard, El Salvador is the first nation state to take on Bitcoin as its legal tender.
I heard that on the headlines. Yeah, it's like that. So that kind of goes to, this is just a little, this is not like the pet rock from years ago, and this is not a fad. If a country is using it as, it's got some validity to it. So maybe you don't need to, get into it and understand all the aspects to realize that, maybe that's going to be in my portfolio. I'm going to allot X%, whatever that feels comfortable to you. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I went to El Salvador because I wanted to see what the hubbub was all about. Plus, I have a cryptocurrency hedge fund, and I needed to be at ground zero. If a nation state is going to be adopting this, and what I found was I went and stayed at a place called Bitcoin Beach. It's been renamed. Wow. It's a beach called El Zante, and I took my chances against all the news about how dangerous it was. And I went down to El Salvador a few weeks ago, and I went to Bitcoin Beach, and I got myself a hotel, and I said, I'm going to try to trade or buy everything with Bitcoin.
Okay.
Now, I'm down in this third world country, and here are all these people running around on the beach, selling things on the beach, or you'd go to dinner and ask them if they take Bitcoin. By the way, there's Bitcoin signs everywhere.
Wow.
And they'd say, yeah. So I'd buy my dinner, for $3.75 or whatever it was. And they would hold up their phone and, punch in the amount that it was. And within 2 seconds, I had transferred Bitcoin from my wallet on my phone to their wallet, even faster than a credit card transaction.
Wow.
So I found it fascinating that these third world people don't really need to get their brains around how cryptocurrency works. It just works,
That's so curious. And so now that makes me think of something else. And maybe this is an off topic, but NFTs, that's another aspect of the big question mark in people's minds. So is an NFT something that becomes investable?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? So the NFT is an even newer market in a lot of components. In a lot of ways, it's bubbling right now. So it's a pretty dangerous place to be. But in a lot of ways, there's some utility. So when I was down in El Salvador, there was a company, I attended their launch. And this was a fascinating story. They actually took, this is a third world country. So they don't have a really great property rights system. Like you and I could agree to buy a house, and we know the delineation of the property demarcations of the lot. Down there, it's, my grandfather gave me this property and he said, it's over there. The corner is that tree. Oh no, it's this tree.
Right.
And so what they're doing in this certain part of El Salvador, and there was this big launch party and some dignitaries were there from the government, et cetera. They take that actual lot and they make an NFT about it. Or out of it. And that way, if you want to sell it to Pedro, you can sell your lot using an NFT to Pedro, and it's legally recognized that is the actual lot. So there's some really great uses of NFTs and cryptocurrency that, we're now just starting to discover. So you can't say it's all great and you can't say it's lousy. It's certainly worth investigating.
It's got some legs. So give it a little bit of time. If you're not ready, give it some time and keep an eye on it. So let's wrap up with talking about your mastermind, your cash flow machine mastermind. What's the, thumbnail sketch of what that is? And then how can people learn more about it?
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Well, I have a program called the Cash Flow Machine. That's that safe, reliable income that I was talking about earlier. But if you wanted to go out and learn how to play golf, right, or do curling, for example, right, you wouldn't just go get a book. I mean, you could probably learn how to play golf from a book a little bit. But if you want to get really good and not waste a lot of time, you're probably going to go immerse yourself in it. You'll probably hire a coach, go to the range, get some balls or whatever, and you'll get some mentorship. Well, we provide in my program a full ecosystem just like that. So we have a series of courses, and they're video, training courses with tests and quizzes. But we also have a group, something called the Private Access Group, where I actually give you the trades that I do in my hedge fund. And then we have a chat group for support and community. We have mentorship from me, which a lot of people seem to think is pretty good. I'll walk you through your first few trades. I'll tell you why I'm doing this similar trade or why you should do this. But then we have these calls on the last day of the week. And we get together, and some people actually open up their screens and share on Zoom what trades they're doing, and we can actually watch them. We all learn from each other. We all share information, and that whole ecosystem helps give you support. So you get a fast launch through the program, and you get making money immediately. So you're not wasting money using trial and error like I did when I created this program. And now you're getting the benefit of my 40 years of trading experience and the community and their years of trading experience. So it's a really fun, great thing for me, because all day long I sit behind a computer and work on stocks and Bitcoin. And then I get to interact with basically my family on Fridays, and we get to talk about what's going on in their lives. And I'm telling you, Mike, it's transforming a lot of people's lives. I'm not a real salesy kind of guy, but the reason this moves me so much is because I'm seeing results in people's life. I got doctors quitting their jobs saying, this is changing my life. I'm tired of working for the hospital and having rounds and having, being on call. It's actually transforming people's lives, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So that's makes it
awesome. Fun. I love it, love it, love it. So what's the best way someone can learn more about everything you do from a learning standpoint, and then also find out more about your program?
Sure. I mean, if you want to learn about, I've got a couple of websites that you can go to. The first is called the Cash Flow Machine, or cashflowmachine.io. But really, I've actually set up something for your listeners of this podcast, and I'll give you a free ebook if you give me your email address, and we'll talk about things. But it's go.destinycreation.com, go.destinycreation.com/influential, right?
Excellent.
And so if you go there, you'll get not only the podcast that we're on right now, but you'll get some notes, and you'll get an opportunity to find out a little bit more about what we do there. And I'd love to have the opportunity to meet with you further, talk with you further, or maybe just help you learn a little bit about what we do.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure to talk to you. I love the way that you approach how you're serving your clients, and it really shows. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.